Before we discuss XRP, I must address this first. When the requirements are passed, I believe that the 1,700 contracts, including NDAs, will begin to be disclosed. A number of them will be revealed before the worldwide adoption of ISO 222 in November of this year. Because usefulness is where the true value is found, keep your attention on it. We are still unsure of when those NDAs will be made public. We don't know when those NDAs will expire, but I'm sure there's a contract attached. Although we won't be aware of all 1,700 of these contracts or their parties, I believe we will begin to receive some announcements once regulations are in place and ISO goes online in November. I believe that will occur eventually. Vivo Power investors can access XRP incentives through cryptocurrency partnerships. Hence, the new collaboration between Vivo Power and Crypto.com is offering a $100 XRP bonus, contingent on availability and qualifying requirements. The concept appeals to me. I just felt it was worth mentioning, even though I never use Crypto.com. Instead, I always use Uphold. However, one business that also has an XRP is Vivo Power. Even up-and-coming companies like Hyperscale, Worksport, and Nature's Miracle are in the green, while treasury firms are sitting on enormous XRP profits. The institutional investment in XRP is yielding enormous profits. Currently, the majority of these businesses will not sell their XRP. Wait until the entire season starts, though. These businesses are going to turn a huge profit, I promise you. When that occurs, and I believe other businesses will notice, certain businesses will probably be purchasing the top when it occurs as well. But as you are aware, XRP is now the cryptocurrency with the highest return on investment due to its market cap multiplier and the fact that anyone may enter before the ETFs are allowed. This cycle is going to be very profitable for them. Those who experience FOMO when the green candles appear are also financially successful. But why don't you purchase XRP right away? I don't understand. Well, a lot of people remark, I don't want to tie up my money now once it starts moving. I will then purchase XRP. You always purchase blood on the streets, both when no one is discussing it and when everyone is. The majority of individuals will be cashing out at that time, and it's not only XRP. Another X is involved. It also applies to other cryptocurrencies. Black Swan is the source of this. Bitcoin is an outdated technology, as capitalist John McAfee once stated, and he was correct. Every disruption starts with a prototype before becoming the norm. Listen to this out.
And now that the box has been opened and we are using it, it will not go away. So it's here to stay, and I know that. And I see that it will become, if not Bitcoin, it will be some alt currency that will become the standard for the world at some point. And I believe that will be at some point in the near future.
And it's on the horizon. While everyone is preoccupied with the market's recent decline and the background chatter about Bitcoin, this is taking place in real time. A whole new financial system is still being developed by Ripple. Additionally, Stellar is installing rail after rail. Behind the scenes, digital trade is also developing. That will be really advantageous. Additionally, QNT is undergoing numerous integrations. The same is true for the HBAR. Around the HBAR algo, no momentum has slowed. IOTA, or the Internet of Things, is also expanding and developing at an unstoppable rate. Industry 4.0 is rapidly approaching, and it is gaining traction. You can either purchase these cryptocurrencies right away. Later, will you regret it? IOTA is likely one of the largest sleeping giants in our industry. I'm telling you, hold off until it turns off. The same is true with QNT. Watch for its breakout. During this cycle, people will be purchasing QNT for more than $500. They intend to purchase an HBAR. XLM is going to have a great run in this cycle, probably above $3. I continue to believe that XCC will surpass $1. Between $3 and $5, I see people calling, and that might actually happen. You know, you don't discount cryptocurrencies with practical applications. By August of 2025, the Central Bank of Nigeria mandates a complete migration of all systems to ISO 222. In addition to the integration, Ripple has worked with financial institutions in Nigeria. The direction of this is already clear to us. There will be more announcements like this in the future. Since ISO is scheduled for November, that transition will take place this year. No more postponements. By the conclusion of the year, RLUSD will be among the top 5. According to Brad Garlinghouse, I think it's going to take longer than the end of the year. However, RLUSD is undoubtedly gaining traction. we're probably going to see RLUSD move up the ranks in 2026. Because of its openness, one-to-one support, and upcoming transparency from Ripple, it is designed to be the top stablecoin. Like a wonderful milk company, this will mature. Bloomberg banks don't want any repercussions. In January 2018, digital currency is worth $80 billion. They insisted that no one would ever use XRP. Even back then, they have consistently stated that no banks will embrace XRP. Yet, what has been going on? It's been utilized by Bank of America. Wells Fargo has been collaborating with Ripple internally for a considerable amount of time. Both Ripple and JP Morgan are more interconnected than most people realize. Remember JP Morgan? They wanted a piece of that escrow, but they soon found themselves in hot water with the SEC. However, all of these institutions are currently positioning themselves. Additionally, I'm telling you that something is amiss if BlackRock doesn't apply for a spot XRP ETF. In addition to the fact that BlackRock probably has a significant amount of XRP in the background, the issue has always been and will continue to be the exit liquidity of Bitcoiners. Take a listen to their criticism of XRP and its holders.
Right, it's the same shit. They're just lying to people. They're creating this pyramid scheme and trying to dump their bags on people forever.
Yeah, and I would argue that if Bitcoin didn't exist, the government would shut something like this down.
Yeah,
this is illegal counterfeiting. I actually think that the reason that Gary Gensler hasn't gone after all of these cryptocurrencies, I mean, if he would have said a couple of years ago, hey, these are all unregistered securities, we're going to go after every single one of them, I don't care if it takes the government 100 years, what would happen? Everything would go into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then maybe you have a few idiots that are like, oh, we're going to take it over and it's going to rip, but it's I think it's a psyop. I think that there's really important people who understand that the game theory is playing out. You can't change the protocol. How do you stop the Bitcoin price from going through the roof?
Yeah.
You let people get wrecked buying shit like this.
Yes, which is why XRP is for retards, and it is retarded.
And evil
it's
people.
causing retardation, actually, of Bitcoin adoption. Now, it's hard to say, right? You can't rerun these experiments. Would Bitcoin adoption be going on faster if there weren't all this market cap in XRP? Maybe, maybe not. But we can say that every retard that falls for the XRP PSYOP and puts their purchasing power in XRP rather than Bitcoin, well, that's non-accretive to Bitcoin. Although in the long run, when this thing blows up, as it inevitably will, it will trigger a stampede of people out of XRP into Bitcoin. So although it might retard Bitcoin adoption in the short run, it's likely to amplify it in the long run. This is one of those, you get into these weird scenario spaces where you realize like everything is good for Bitcoin.
I was just going to say that. And all roads lead to Bitcoin.
Yeah, you just can't avoid it.
So maybe this is a good thing.
The extent of these people's delusions is beyond my comprehension. Do they still think the US government will adopt Bitcoin? Take note. They are concerned about money moving into these other cryptocurrencies. They want all the money to go into Bitcoin. They still think that Bitcoin was more than just a test coin for the real Bitcoin, which is XRP. Why? Thus, they require liquidity to depart. The good news is that every unfavorable XRP discussion increases algorithmic engagement by a factor of 10. Check out Paul Barron's music here.
Every time we start to see certain camps start to attack the XRP camps, which is so ironic that this is so tribal in crypto in general, is that the camps that attack, whether they're bot-driven or they're actually human-driven, it creates a response mechanism from the XRP community, which enhances the algorithm and now has almost like a bit of an incentive structure. So every negative thread on XRP generates 10x in algorithmic engagement. So every time that we get a Bitcoiner, an ETH Maxi, a Solana, it doesn't matter, you name it, one community of that, they attack XRP. We're watching this on the MSI. and it only amplifies the message of XRP. And I'm like, what are these guys not getting?
According to him, everything negative that is said about XRP spreads the word about it, which has the reverse impact of what is intended. One of our lawmakers is now advocating Bitcoin exclusively, and they want the US government to buy their Bitcoin because they need exit liquidity. Why would they do that? And whenever they talk about the flawless idea of Bitcoin, I mean, that is peak crazy. After a whale moves 25,000 Bitcoin, price pressure increases since even the original Bitcoin holders are now selling off their holdings. Therefore, a long dormant whale's big sell-off of Bitcoin is putting more downward pressure on the market. According to data, the whale's wallet, which dates back to the early days of Bitcoin, moved $25,000 this past weekend. The transfer caused a flash crash and a steep decline in price in an illiquid market area, briefly bringing Bitcoin below $190,000 for the first time since July. They need more retail money pouring into Bitcoin, so wait till the other original Bitcoiners start selling out too. For this reason, the marketing team uses news from the mainstream media to advertise Bitcoin. Have you ever noticed that one after another, all day long, that is what takes place? They merely advertise Bitcoin, and if someone appears in the news media, they attempt to immediately shift the focus to another altcoin. People are just starting to wake up when they try to lead them back to Bitcoin. That's the crux of the matter. OG Bitcoin mistakes are well known to you. They weren't like the Bitcoin Maxis of today. You know, it was all about freedom, money, anti-government sentiment, and anti-establishment sentiment back then. There is now a new Bitcoin Maxi of the modern era who wants their bags bought out and bailed out by the government. You know, I only consider the average investor who has their money invested in Bitcoin, but it's such a hypocritical viewpoint from today's Bitcoin holders. You know, I would put that money into something else anytime you made a profit. Invest your money in another altcoin even if you don't like XRP. Because at this point, what do you want to gain from Bitcoin? Most coins will draw a 10x or more during this cycle, possibly a 2x. Obtain that return on your investment, profit from this run. For this reason, the organizations are already looking beyond Bitcoin. They have their sights set on the future. They're looking at something that solves problems in the real world and does stuff. They even enjoy technology. You know, they are considering ETH instead of Bitcoin because of this. They will soon be considering international money transfers. After that, they will consider XRP instead of ETH. In crypto, that's just the way it is. As you are aware, it began with exposure and will conclude with utility. Until then, maintain your patience and optimism.